I remember the first time I took cocaine. I was at my mate Frankie's house, and yeah, I was smoking a bit of weed, getting a bit high. Some bloke comes in, and his face was just, I just remember his eyes like wide, and he actually looked pissed off. I didn't, I doubt he was, but obviously when I'm on weed and stuff, I was just tripping out, getting a bit paranoid of him. But then after a while, the night picks up, you start talking to him, and you find out he's a quite decent bloke. Ask him how it feels, and he's like, yeah, it's all fucking wicked, it's the best shit I've ever had, man. I'm loving it, mate, I'm floating on top of the world and all that kind of shit. And then he asks the question, do you want some? Do you want a bet? Do you want a line or whatever? I'm sitting there thinking, it's a Friday night, I'm with my mates, we're all safe, we're having a good time. I think, fuck it, might as well have a bit. So I do a line, do another line, do another line, do another line, and then I'm feeling like fucking, like Tony Montana, sitting on top of the world, and it's wicked. I'm just, I'll put it down as being one of the best nights of my life. I'll never forget it. It was fucking amazing. And then, you don't know what's going to be like the next day for the come down. You start feeling really depressed and shit like that. But after a while, you get used to that. And you just blame it on the drugs, if I'm down, I'm just like, yeah, it's from the wicked night before. And obviously, if I'm that happy, I have to come back down. But all you do is you get more and more accustomed to it, the more drugs you take. So you start taking different things, you take pills, see what that buzz is like. You're in love with everyone, everything's wicked, you're content. Apart from like the nanoseconds of getting paranoid, like someone says something the wrong way, the way you didn't want them to say it, and you start thinking, why did they say it like that? But other than that, you're fucking flying. It's just wicked. And then you start taking more and more stuff, and it gets more and more intense. And then I guess the difference with me was, I like to start taking it by myself, just for everyday use. Just, I'll come home from a shit day at work, picking and packing, shit like that, and all I'd be thinking about all day is just doing one line, and I'd consider doing it at work, but I kind of keep it, I wouldn't do it at work, I'll keep it above board kind of thing. I'll get home and just sit in my room and just start doing lines, and then, cocaine becomes a bit too expensive, so I just get a bit of MDMA, or, anything. Edivijuba, ketamine, speed. And you just sat in my room just doing constant drugs. This is the best way to put it. I locked my door so my mum couldn't come in, and just start taking them. And it builds from there really. You don't even notice that you're doing it. You think you're perfectly normal. You think your friends would be doing the same shit that you're doing because you don't speak about it. And when you go out with them and do it, you're all doing it. But it's just when you're by yourself, you just still assume that they're doing it as well. So start falling more and more into a hole. Didn't realise that I was at the time, but the come downs, when I got more depressed at work during the day, and even was down until I had that line, I was like, I really needed it, or whatever that hit. And I was just getting more and more into it. I didn't see it as being a bad thing. I just kind of loved it really, and I say to myself, really, I'm down because of the drugs from last night, but I know I can bring myself back up. Maybe drink a bit of alcohol as well. That always got you up as well. And of course, it's a drug that you can take, so you take that, anything to bring you back up, and you'll be floating again. And then one day you're just suddenly sitting there, and you're sober for a couple of minutes, and you're thinking to yourself, is this really me? Is this the life I want to do? I want to choose. And you kind of like, it's hard to explain, because unless you've done it, as usually everyone says, unless you've done it, you can't really understand. But you consider it, and you kind of think, oh well, I'm still young, I'm gonna have fun. You hear about all these stories of other people doing it, you think it's alright, and think, yeah, fuck it, I'll be alright, you know, in the future I'll sort my life out, you know, I've got years to wait and all that kind of shit. So you just carry on, and there's no excuse for it. You don't think you need to do anything more, you know, you've got everything you need around you. And then you start to push yourself doing more and more, or I did anyway. I started to push myself doing more and more, seeing how much I could take before anything bad would happen. And you know, don't get me wrong, I never ID'd on it or nothing like that, but I just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And you know, the more you push, sometimes it goes completely wrong and you're fucking, you know, your mind's gone off somewhere else and you want to come back to your body and you're shitting your pants. But sometimes it's just like you're going away with it and you're taking it, and it's just like this rush of ecstasy and you're loving everything you're fucking doing. And then, you know, one day I remember, like, had an argument at home, went to work, it was shit, and I just thought, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. So I quit my job, went home, bought a shitload of cat, had a bit of MDMA left over, had a couple of pills and a half bottle of whiskey, and I thought, fuck it, I might as well see how far I can push all this. It's quite hard sometimes to take all of them at the same time, you know. Sometimes you think your body's going to reject it and you do just start throwing up, and you just don't take any more for a couple of days until the weekend comes, and of course you've got nothing better to do, so you start again. But just this one time, it was like, it's taking it in, and I was floating, you know, watching films and TV and shit like that, just taking it all in, you know, did a bit more. It was fucking wicked. And I just remember lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling, and it was just like, it was like floating in and out. It was like, I could see my white ceiling, all this, you know, the star stickers that I had in there, and it would be like, I'd see that and then it would kind of pull me back to this black vision, and then go back in again, and then went black again. And I just remember, like, my heart was seriously pounding really hard, and I could literally felt like it wanted to jump out of my body, and I did find it hard to breathe, and I was quite scared. And obviously my mum's downstairs, and you know, the last thing I can do is go down there and say to her, you know, I've just taken a shitload of drugs and tripping out. So I just thought, you know, ride it out, get a glass of water, ride it out. Just lying there, taking more and more, and I don't really remember when it happened, but it did just fade to black, and I really can't remember, because I don't know whether it had done it earlier and I was just not there anymore, or whether this was the first time or anything like I'd just fallen asleep, and then that was it. I don't remember anything else after that, and that's how I got here. I just, you know, I kind of got over the whole situation of all the selfishness, I suppose, of taking drugs and not worrying about anyone else, not thinking about anyone else, and just kind of thinking about myself and getting completely and utterly shit-faced, I suppose. But I took that guilt upon myself, and I'm kind of happy with it. You know, I'm not happy, but I'm kind of understand why I did it at the time. But I suppose it's just so you know, I'm kind of happy with myself and all that kind of stuff. And it's just the shit I left behind is what's really fucked up. You know, I'm here in this new place, deaf, whatever, and my mum, she's still alive, and she's lost it basically. She's got no one there for her, even though we never used to speak all the time. She's just there by herself. She still sees jobs that she thought I could have done, sees things that she thought I would have loved to have done. She wants to, you know, she cuts bits out of paper that she would love to show me. She can't, because I'm not there anymore. You know, I'm up wherever, heaven or hell, or this afterlife, whatever they call it, and she's got to carry on by herself. And it's just that kind of selfishness you never really realise until the day you die.
No dear beloved gathered for the deceased. When we die, when we die, when I die, when I die. when I die, when I die, when I die, when I die.